10 events that happened on May 18. 1. On 1096, as part of the First Crusade, a tragic event unfolded in the city of Worms, Germany, marking a dark chapter in the history of religious conflict. Fueled by religious fervor, crusaders, en route to the Holy Land, turned their wrath towards the Jewish community in Worms, massacring around 800 individuals. This horrific incident was part of a wider pattern of anti-Semitic violence perpetrated by crusaders throughout Europe, often justified as a religious duty to fight non-believers. The massacre in Worms served as a grim testament to the intensity of religious intolerance during the time of the Crusades, and the horrific consequences borne by innocent communities. 2. On 1756, a critical event in world history occurred as Great Britain formally declared war on France, marking the official start of the 7 Years' War. This global conflict, often considered the first true world war, saw the two major powers, along with their respective allies, battle for dominance in Europe, North America, and parts of Asia and Africa. The war was essentially a power struggle, with Britain seeking to curb France's influence and expand its own colonial holdings, particularly in North America and India. The conflict showcased the power of Britain's navy and marked a pivotal point in the ascendance of the British Empire as a dominant global force. The 7 Years' War, which began on this day, had profound implications for world history, reshaping colonial territories and setting the stage for future global conflicts. 3. On 1804, after a strategic power consolidation, Napoleon Bonaparte was declared Emperor of the French, a title designed to assert his absolute authority. Born to a relatively modest family on the island of Corsica, Napoleon was not French by birth, adding a layer of intrigue to his ascension to the French throne. Napoleon's appointment as emperor marked a radical shift from the French Republic that had been established in the aftermath of the French Revolution. His military prowess and charismatic leadership had already made him a national hero in France, earning him the loyalty of both the army and the populace. As emperor, Napoleon instituted numerous reforms in law, education, administration, and finance, collectively known as the Napoleonic Code, shaping French society to this day. His reign saw the expansion of the French Empire across Europe, largely due to a series of victorious military campaigns that showcased his strategic brilliance. Napoleon's reign, however, was not without opposition, as various coalitions were formed against him by European monarchies threatened by his expansionist ambitions. Despite initial successes, his overreach eventually led to his downfall, most notably with the disastrous invasion of Russia in 1812 and the decisive defeat at Waterloo in 1815. Napoleon's tenure as emperor ended with his exile to the remote island of St. Helena, where he spent the final years of his life. 4. Nicholas II, the last Tsar of Russia, was born on 1868, into the House of Romanov, the ruling royal family of Russia. He was the eldest son of Alexander III, from whom he inherited the throne in 1894, marking the start of a reign that would be fraught with challenges and ultimately, revolution. Nicholas II's rule was characterized by political repression, economic struggles, and social unrest, which were exacerbated by Russia's disastrous involvement in the Russo-Japanese War and World War I. Under his reign, Russia also witnessed the infamous Bloody Sunday massacre in 1905, a turning point that sparked widespread discontent and revolutionary fervor among the populace. Despite these challenges, Nicholas II is often remembered for his devotion to his family, particularly his wife, Alexandra, and their 5 children, including his son Alexei, who suffered from hemophilia. Nicholas II's reign ended with his abdication in 1917 during the Russian Revolution, marking the end of more than 3 centuries of Romanov rule and paving the way for the rise of the Soviet Union. The life of Nicholas II, born on this day in 1868, came to a tragic end in 1918 when he and his entire family were executed by the Bolsheviks, marking a brutal end to the Russian monarchy. 5. On 1920, Karol Józef Wojtyla, who would later become known as Pope John Paul II, was born in the small town of Wadowice, Poland. Raised in a deeply Catholic family, his early experiences living through the Nazi occupation of Poland would greatly influence his spiritual and philosophical development. Ascending to the papacy in 1978, he became the first non-Italian pope in over 450 years, and one of the most influential figures in modern Catholicism. His papacy was marked by efforts to improve interfaith dialogue, opposition to communism, and a strong stance on moral issues, earning him both admiration and controversy. Pope John Paul II, born on this day, passed away in 2005, leaving behind a legacy of social and political impact that transcended the boundaries of the Catholic Church. 6. On 1953, Jacqueline Cochran, a trailblazing American pilot, made aviation history by becoming the first woman to break the sound barrier. Flying a Canadair F-86 Sabre jet, Cochran surpassed the speed of sound, a feat previously achieved only by male pilots. This groundbreaking achievement underscored Cochran's remarkable skill and determination in a field dominated by men, and paved the way for future women in aviation. Cochran's feat was not only a personal triumph but also a significant step forward in challenging gender stereotypes and breaking barriers for women in aerospace. Jacqueline Cochran's landmark flight on this day reaffirmed her status as one of the most influential figures in aviation history, inspiring generations of women to pursue careers in flight. 7. Operation Passage to Freedom, a massive humanitarian effort undertaken at the end of the First Indochina War, concluded on May 18, 1955, after nearly a year of operations. This operation involved the evacuation of approximately 310,000 individuals, including Vietnamese civilians, soldiers, and non-Vietnamese members of the French army, from communist North Vietnam to South Vietnam. Triggered by the Geneva Accords of 1954, which divided Vietnam along the 17th parallel, the operation aimed to facilitate the movement of individuals who wished to live in the anti-communist South. The operation was primarily executed by the French Navy, with logistical support from the United States Navy, reflecting the international nature of the Indochina conflict. Despite logistical challenges and political tensions, Operation Passage to Freedom stands as a significant event in the history of the Vietnam War, marking a mass migration that reshaped the social and political landscape of Vietnam. The operation's conclusion on this day marked the end of one of the largest humanitarian evacuations in history, setting the stage for the escalating conflict that would become the Vietnam War. 8. On 1975, John Higgins, who would become one of Scotland's most successful snooker players, was born in Wishaw, North Lanarkshire. Showing a natural talent for snooker from a young age, Higgins turned professional in 1992, marking the beginning of an illustrious career. Known for his tactical prowess and consistency, Higgins has won multiple World Snooker Championships, securing his place among the sport's greats. His impressive record, longevity in the sport, and captivating performances have earned him recognition as one of the most accomplished players in snooker history. 9. On 2005, a second image from the Hubble Space Telescope validated that Pluto has 2 additional moons. These celestial bodies were named Nix and Hydra. This discovery expanded our understanding of the Pluto system, previously known only to include the moon Charon. The dwarf planet Pluto has 5 natural satellites. In order of distance from Pluto, they are Charon, Styx, Nix, Kerberos, and Hydra. Charon, the largest, is mutually tidally locked with Pluto, and is massive enough that Pluto-Charon is sometimes considered a double dwarf planet. The innermost and largest moon, Charon, was discovered by James Christie on the 22nd of June 1978, nearly half a century after Pluto was discovered. Kerberos, announced on the 20th of July 2011, was discovered while searching for plutonian rings. SDYX, announced on the 7th of July 2012, was discovered while looking for potential hazards for New Horizons. On July 14, 2015, NASA's New Horizons spacecraft made its historic flight through the Pluto system, providing the first close-up images of Pluto and its moons and collecting other data that has transformed our understanding of these mysterious worlds on the solar system's outer frontier. 10. On 2009, the Sri Lankan Civil War, which had lasted for a quarter of a century, came to an end, marking a significant event in the nation's history. The conflict was primarily between the Sri Lankan government and the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, LTTE, a militant organization seeking an independent Tamil state in the north and east of Sri Lanka. Over the course of the war, it's estimated that up to 100,000 lives were lost, a testament to the devastating impact of the prolonged conflict on the Sri Lankan population. The war was characterized by a series of bloody battles, suicide bombings, and human rights abuses on both sides, causing significant civilian casualties and displacement. The final phase of the war, in 2009, was particularly brutal, with a large number of casualties reported as the Sri Lankan military closed in on the last LTTE-held territories. The war officially ended when the Sri Lankan military announced the killing of the LTTE leader, Velupillai Prabhakaran, signifying the defeat of the Tamil Tigers. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and notification buttons. Subscribing would greatly support me, and it's completely free. Also, feel free to leave your comments below.